What happened to the Alan Parsons Project? The Alan Parsons Project was the brainchild of two talented individuals, Alan Parsons and Eric Wolfson. Alan Parsons was a renowned audio engineer and producer and had already made a name for himself by working on iconic albums such as Abbey Road by the Beatles and The Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. His expertise in sound engineering and production gave the project its polished and experimental edge. Eric Wolfson was a Scottish songwriter, composer, and pianist, and he met Parsons in the mid-70s. Wolfson's background in songwriting and his ability to conceptualize album-length stories meshed perfectly with Parsons' technical skills. Together, they conceived the Alan Parsons Project as a studio-based collective that would bring together a variety of session musicians and vocalists to create albums with narrative coherence and different themes. Their first album, Tales of Mystery and Imagination in 1976, was based on the works of Edgar Allan Poe. It set the tone for the project's approach with concept albums that often explored philosophical or literary themes. The record garnered attention for its ambitious arrangements and production, as well as its unique blend of orchestration and rock. And this was the beginning of their most successful period from the late 70s through the mid-80s. Their next album, released in 1977, was I, Robot, and it was inspired by Isaac Asimov's science fiction robot stories, and this album explored themes of artificial intelligence and the human condition. It featured the top 40 hit I Wouldn't Want to Be Like You and showcased the project's ability to blend synthesizers with orchestral arrangements. Their next album, Pyramid, released in 1978, focused on the mysteries and myths of ancient Egypt, and this album continued the project's tradition of tackling intellectual and historic themes. In 1979, they released Eve. In 1980, they released The Turn of a Friendly Card, and it was a concept album about gambling and human ambition, and it featured one of their biggest hits, Games People Play, as well as the evocative title track. 2 years later, they released Eye in the Sky, and it was perhaps their most commercially successful album. It included the hit title track, which remains one of their signature songs. This album also has the opener Sirius, and if you have been to a sporting event in the past 40 years, you have for sure heard Sirius, especially if you've been to a Chicago Bulls game. This album balanced radio-friendly pop songs with the band's trademark conceptual depth. During this period, the Alan Parsons Project became known for their meticulous production and innovative use of technology. They were pioneers in the use of synthesizers and multi-track recording techniques, and their albums were often recorded at Abbey Road Studios, where Parsons had honed his craft. Despite their success, the Alan Parsons Project faced challenges as the music industry evolved during the early 1980s. The rise of MTV and the increasing emphasis on music videos presented difficulties for a band that was primarily studio-based and lacked a fixed lineup besides the duo. Unlike traditional rock bands, the Alan Parsons Project didn't perform live, which limited their visibility and ability to connect with fans in the emerging video-driven era. Additionally, the music landscape was shifting towards more commercial and image-driven acts, and the project's intellectual and conceptual approach began to feel out of step with mainstream trends. Albums like Ammonia Avenue in 1984 and Vulture Culture in 1985 were still well-crafted but didn't achieve the same level of critical or commercial success as earlier works. By the late 80s, tensions between Alan Parsons and Eric Wolfson began to surface. Wolfson, who had increasingly taken on a managerial role within the project, wanted to explore new directions, including musical theater. Parsons, on the other hand, preferred to continue focusing on studio albums and production. Their final album as the Alan Parsons Project, Gotti, in 1987, was inspired by the works of Spanish architect Antoni Gotti. While it included standout tracks like Closer to Heaven and La Sagrada Familia, it marked the end of their collaboration under the Alan Parsons Project name. After Gotti, Wolfson pursued a career in musical theater, creating stage productions such as Fraudiana in 1990, which was initially conceived as an Alan Parsons Project album. Parsons, meanwhile, embarked on a solo career, releasing albums under his own name and continuing to work as a producer. Eric Wolfson's transition to musical theater proved fruitful. Fraudiana, which explored the life and theories of Sigmund Freud, was well received as a stage production in Europe. Wolfson went on to create other musicals, including Gotti, based on the 1987 album, and Gambler, inspired by The Turn of a Friendly Card. His work in theater allowed him to further explore the storytelling and thematic elements that define the Alan Parsons Project. Unfortunately, Wolfson passed away in 2009 at the age of 64 after a battle with cancer. His contributions to music and theater remain highly regarded, and his partnership with Alan Parsons is remembered as one of the most innovative in rock history. Alan Parsons continued to build on his legacy as a producer and solo artist. Albums like Try Anything Once in 1993 and A Valid Path in 2004 showcased his continued interest in blending technology with musical storytelling. Parsons also began performing live, something the Alan Parsons Project had rarely done. His touring band, often billed as the Alan Parsons Live Project, allowed him to reconnect with fans and introduced a new generation to the project's music. Parsons has also received recognition for his pioneering work in audio production. In 2019, he won a Grammy Award for Best Immersive Audio Album for Eye in the Sky 35th Anniversary Edition. His commitment to high-quality sound and innovation in recording technology has influenced countless artists and producers. The Alan Parsons Project remains a unique and influential force in music history. Their albums continue to be celebrated for their ambitious themes, technical provision, and genre-blending approach, and songs like Eye in the Sky, Time, and Don't Answer Me are enduring classics that have found new life through streaming platforms and radio play. Parsons just announced that he is going to do a limited run of West Coast states in the summer of 2025 with Brit Floyd. And that's what happened to the Alan Parsons Project. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and give me some facts about the band that I failed to mention, and let me know who I should do next on the channel. Give me your favorite song of theirs below. Once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.